Tim Hazelow here with TNTT, Truth Not Trash with Tim. Hey, I just wanted to give you guys some information. I've been asked by multiple people to let you guys know what these charges are that Tracy Abel and myself are being charged with by this Island County prosecutor. What the max fines are, in kind of explain where we're at and how we feel and what we think. So let me start with this. The max fine, if we were to be convicted of all three of these things, could be as much as 5 years and 6 months in jail and as much as $12,000 in fees and fines. So plus whatever we spend on our defense, right? That in itself is a big deal. I don't see any of that happening. I don't think we're going to get convicted of these things. I don't think we did anything wrong. And so once we get in front of a judge and if we make it to a jury, which I don't think we will, I think it'll all be churned around. So P8 going by over here, not as quite as loud as a growler. Sound of freedom, right? I'm sure we're going to have a growler any minute now. So let's go through the charges. The first charge they charged us with, well, they charged me first, and then they sent Tracy charges in the mail that she got on December 24th, if you can believe that, right? So Greg Banks charges me with disorderly conduct. I received a citation for the disorderly conduct at the time they escorted me out. We'll talk about that for a second. But he went ahead and charged it, which he shouldn't have done to begin with. Any prosecutor out there worth their salt would have looked at that and said, yeah, we're not going to touch that. But there's reasons why Banks is pushing on Tracy and I, and it has nothing to do with what we did. It has to do with who we are. And I believe that. At first, I wasn't sure about that, but now I truly believe that. So let's talk about the disorderly conduct. Well, I went in, I sat there quietly without interruption. I didn't do anything to interrupt the process. Everybody was counting ballots and they were doing their thing. There was a lady in the south end of the building. Looked like she was like maybe one of the people who have been there the longest. And she was trying to explain to another lady how to do something. She had her mask down so she could talk. There were other people that would pull their masks out away from their face so they could talk. And this is, I'm just giving you background. I'm not trying to say that it was right or wrong. And if they want to wear masks, wear a mask. I got no problem with that. That should be on you, but I shouldn't be forced to do it, and neither should you. So I'm sitting there quietly, and Michelle comes in and says, Tim, you have to wear a mask. I said, no, I don't think I have to. I said, because there's no authority out there. There's no legislative authority that gives you the ability to create that mandate to begin with. And unless I'm wrong, can you tell me? And she had no answer for me. She had nothing. She said, well, it's the rules. Okay. So I said, well, I'm just going to sit here quietly, which I did, and observe the election, observe the process. A little while later, so I'd already been in there for, 10, 15 minutes or so. A little while later, the sheriff comes in. You can see in the video, I shake his hand. I shake the deputy's hand. Well, he's the marshal, but he's also a sheriff. I shake his hand. I shake the deputy's hand, who I've met before. You got to realize I've been here for 30 plus years. I know most of these people. And a lot of their dads were sheriffs when I was way more involved in the county than I am now. And so I know their dads and I know them. But the thing about it is I shook their hands. We had a conversation. It might have lasted a minute. All I did was question the authority of the mask mandate. And I said, hey, if I'm not breaking a law that can be cited, then I'd rather sit here and exercise my First and 14th Amendment rights. And he said, well, no, you got to go. And I said, but what law am I breaking? He says, well, we'll talk about it in the hallway. And so I got up and I left. Pretty simple. So no disorderly conduct there, and even less chance of disorderly conduct with Tracy. I mean, she actually went to the hall before she even questioned the authority. She went out to the hall to question the authority. So no disorderly conduct there. The second charge that they added to mine, but was there in Tracy's 24th filing, December 24th filing that she got, or summons that she got, was criminal trespassing. Now, what's that mean? I don't know. I mean, I was authorized to be there. I signed in. I was shown where the room is. I knew where it was anyway because I've been there and done this. And so we weren't trespassing. There was no trespassing. I guess they could stretch. Oh my God, Stretch Armstrong, if any of you can remember that guy. I guess Banks could stretch far enough to say that the fact that we questioned the authority and it took us an extra minute or two to leave I guess that could be trespassing. I mean, in Banks's mind, which I try not to be in. So, God, that's another one, right? How are they going to make that stick? We were authorized to be there. We were not trespassing, and we left. We left after we questioned that authority. And I'm telling you right now, if you're not questioning your government's authority, you're not an American. We need to, as a country, that's how we were founded, through questioning authority. We questioned the authority of the British to tax us to death and take everything we had. We've been questioning authority as Americans our entire lives. And that's what makes our nation great, is because we don't just lie down and take it. We question the authority, and we make them explain to us why the rule is what the rule is. Why do you have the authority to make the rule? So that's all we were doing. And we started to do this before this even happened. The week before, we questioned the authority. We sent letters. We made phone calls. We had people go in person and talk to these people. We even got to the point where we filed a cease and desist letter, or delivered a cease and desist letter to the auditor herself. And you know what we got for all that? Nothing. We didn't even get a response, a reply, even an acknowledgement that they looked at it. We got the signature of the office manager on it. That's it. And so this is craziness. So we've been trying to do this for about a week. Before I even got escorted out, we were trying to fix this issue. So the next thing that they tried to charge us with, well, first of all, Banks sent us a letter saying if we don't plead guilty and take his punishment, that, yeah, this is what's going to happen. We're going to escalate this to a felony. So really crazy now, right? And as a former sailor, I'm not going to tell you what my thoughts were, but I will tell you that I didn't plead guilty, and neither did Tracy, and we shouldn't have to plead guilty to this. So he files this felony. The felony is unauthorized access to a polling place. The law was not broken. If you read the law, it's very specific. We did not do anything that would constitute the breaking of that law. I can't see how this is going to stick. I think the judge, I think he's a fair guy. I think he's an even-keeled guy. I don't know if he's left or right. Don't really care. As long as he can make a fair decision based on facts, I think we're going to be fine. I don't think this is going to go even to trial. I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, good luck finding 12 people out there that are going to convict us of this. So that's where all this lies, guys. And it's not me. This shouldn't even be going to trial. The only question that should be asked is whether or not that auditor has the authority to do this, which we believe she does not. And if she does have the authority to create a mask mandate, then does the health department have the authority to dictate how we count ballots? It's a fair question, right? Very fair question. So anyway, that's where it's all at. The only felony that we should be talking about right now is something called color of law, and that's in federal court. And that is where overzealous prosecutors go after people in a way that's not necessary or that does not fit the laws, and they do it for personal reasons. Can I prove that that's what he's doing? I'm not in his head. Like I said, I don't want to be in his head. However, all outward appearance looks in that direction. Feels like that's the way it's going. Think about this. When it was just me and I was being charged with disorderly conduct, the lowest possible criminal charge a person can get, right? Guess who my prosecutor was? The highest level prosecutor in Island County, Greg Banks himself. He chose to take the lowest level. And then when Brandy Cruz questioned him on that and said, hey, this is kind of odd that the highest level prosecutor would take on the lowest level case, guess what his I encourage you to go look at Brandy Cruz's video. It's pretty enlightening. But he says, you're right. I don't remember the last time I did this. And I don't think this happens. And he said, however, this is a special case. And that sealed the deal for me. Yeah, I questioned his Facebook posts. Yeah, I questioned the fact that he doesn't prosecute crimes against conservatives on Whidbey Island. Yes, I question all those things. But when he said this is a special case, that's when it brought it home for me, and it said, you know what? I do believe that this is a politically motivated, personally biased prosecutor, and we need to fight that. And if it needs to go to federal court, it needs to go to federal court. But we can't lay down and take this. And this guy needs to be disbarred, and he needs to be removed. And we're going to need a lot of help to do that. Anyway, that's the case. That's the criminal case. You guys can go to TNTT Truth Not Trash and see the previous videos. I'll try to put links to Brandy Cruz's videos on there. We've interviewed with Ari Hoffman. We've interviewed with Jason Rantz. A lot of people have talked about it. New York Post put a piece out on it. And we're going to try and get more media attention and get it out there, because people need to know what's going on. People need to know what's happening. And we can't fight this by ourselves. And we're fighting this for all of us, not just myself and Tracy. We're fighting it for you, so you don't have to. Anyway, that's what I got. Feel free to reach out to me, and we'll keep you updated when these trials happen. That won't be for another few weeks for the criminal trials, and we'll just have to go from there. Once again, this is Tim Hazelow, and you can find me on Tim Hazelow for America on Facebook, or TNTT Truth Not Trash with Tim on YouTube. I'm also on X, and here's looking forward to not going to jail. Anyway, Tim Hazelow signing off. You have a great evening, and God bless.